You're listening to Black Like Me with Dr. Alex G., a podcast that invites you to experience the world through the perspective of one black man, one conversation, one story, or even one rant at a time. Here's Dr. G.
Okay, so we's out on our date. We got the bitches and we're gonna get them and we're gonna give them food. Got my cane. I got my suit. Oh, baby, I got a car alarm on my Impala. All right, boys, let's go in. This is the fancy-ass restaurant we ever been to, and it is called the Steak and Shake. Unbelievable.
God, look at the red stuff.
Hey, this is Alex G, and welcome to Season 2 of Black Like Me. That audio that you just listened to is really extracted from a video clip of a DeForest, Wisconsin police chief Daniel Furseth, who was sitting outside a restaurant, Steak and Shake, and watching 3 to 4 young African-American young men come out dressed. It looked as if they had, like they were going to a prom. They had tuxes on and boutonnieres. And he is making sort of a meme of them. He is sort of mimicking black pimp language. We going in here to get our hoes, or I think they call them bitches, and all this kind of stuff. This is the chief of police who should be patrolling the community, but he's sitting outside showing what he thinks about young black teens who are going to prom, which means that they are going to school. And it's just gut-wrenching. It's gut-wrenching. And after that happened in August, in this area of Wisconsin where I live, there's a gathering, there's an association of chiefs of police. And so from the various municipalities, the university, Madison, town of Madison, Monona, and others, they gather. And they actually meet with communities of color to talk about better relations with each other. The chair of that group of chiefs is Chief Gregory. He is the town of Madison, which is different than the city of Madison, but the town of Madison police chief, who's also the chair of this. He writes, and I quote, "We condemn racism in any form and will speak out against acts by our own that negatively impact our relationships with the community and undermine the efforts and progress we have made to improve trust between law enforcement and communities of color." End quote. Pretty bold statement. We appreciate that statement from the chair of the chiefs, Chief Gregory. But here's where I have a problem. Chief Gregory just hired Daniel Furseth. Daniel Furseth left the DeForest Police Department because of a number of things. A formal complaint was brought. This video that was recorded about 10 or 11 years ago resurfaced on YouTube. Some say it was by a disgruntled employee. We're not certain, disgruntled intern, but it is resurfaced. And so here's this chief of police, a man with a gun and a badge and a license, who is responsible for safety, responsible for controlling his own biases, responsible for training his force, and responsible for keeping our communities safe. From who and by who? And so this formal complaint came to the town board, and Eli is my producer. Can you read the statement about what happened after the formal complaint came? Because I think that there were 4 things named in that. So can you just please read the statement, because I want to set up my rant.
Yeah, this is from Channel 3000 on August 8th of this year. And it says, an investigation into Furseth did not find substantial racial bias in his behavior as chief, but did bring up other concerns. The village board said in a news release Wednesday that they are calling for discipline or termination against Furseth. While the board did not pursue charges based solely on the results of the racial investigation, the investigation did expose additional management concerns, which were then separately investigated, village board officials said in a press release. The counts...
please, tell me the counts.
They include failure to address employee misconduct, inappropriate public communications and misuse of tech resources, conduct detrimental to public confidence in the DeForest Police Department, and improper disclosure of confidential information.
Wow. So first of all, if I'm understanding this correctly, the town board of DeForest did not find enough evidence with that 3-minute video of racial bias, even though he spent 3 minutes mocking black people and who are dressed up in prom clothing to take their bitches out. Because on that same day, hundreds of white young men were dressed up who were taking their dates, who weren't bitches. They were taking their dates out to eat. And he's also making fun that they're taking them to Steak and Shake because these are kids, and these are places where kids eat. You know, they're not going to be at Fleming Steakhouse. But there was not sufficient evidence by the town board. But they had concern about misconduct in other areas. For example, putting up videos on the police department's Facebook page of a man with mental health running through a food drive-through naked, and putting that up making fun of someone with mental health issues, putting them up, putting photos of them up. This is the chief of police allowing his staff to do that and doing some of that on his own. Am I missing anything else that's in that statement?
It does say the complaint alleges that First Seth failed to investigate an employee despite multiple formal complaints reporting misconduct from both men and women. The nature of the reports could have been considered sexual harassment according to the complaint.
All right. So I'm pissed. So here I go. We're living in the United States of America at one of the most polarized junctures of our history, in terms of gender, in terms of race, in terms of class, in terms of international relations. It's a mess. And it can't be just all attributed to who's in the White House right now. America, a country I love, a country that my family has served through many wars, in many uniforms, have supported this country, its flag and what it stands for. But folks, I'm confused, as young people will say today. Help me out. We have white men who are police officers who are shooting unarmed black men because they say that they were fearful for their lives. We have found out that sometimes they've had a pocket of Skittles, that sometimes they've had cell phones, sometimes they've had nothing, so the police officers have had to go back and plant something on them to justify the shooting. But then if you back it up, you would find out, well, maybe there was not enough diversity on the force. These police officers did not have enough cross-cultural relationships. They did not know how to defend themselves with their sticks or with their fist. And so by being so afraid of confrontation, they shoot people as a knee-jerk reaction. Doesn't common sense tell us that in a time where so many unarmed black men are being shot, that we should trace the nexus of the bias that makes so many of these police officers think that they or others are at a threat? Michael Brown, Tamir Rice, Eric Garner, Tony Robinson, et cetera, Trayvon Martin, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when you get a chief of police who's making these kinds of comments about black men, does it not show us that he is not above his own racial biases? Doesn't it indicate that he is full of them? That he would take police time, tax dollar time, to sit in a parking lot mocking black folks? How can he then convince me or you or anyone who cares about black boys and black girls or community safety that those thoughts do not play into how he goes about policing? What button did he push? I'll give it to him. This was 10 to 11 years ago. But what encounter did he have? What psychological intervention, what racial training has this man gone through to show us that he no longer thinks this way or feels this way or he's sorry for his actions? It takes a disgruntled intern or someone to turn this up on Facebook for the town leaders of DeForest to take action. And they did not think that it was sufficient acts of racial insensitivity. Well, what more did they need? Like 3 counts of the N-word? Did he have to tell your mama jokes? What about that did not show racial insensitivity? So then Police Chief Gregory, and he is the chief of the Council of Chiefs of Police, so he is a chief among chiefs, who spoke out against this action, and he said, we will speak out against this. We will not hold back. We will speak against our own. We will not tolerate acts of people who wear the badge to undermine the work and the trust that we built with communities of color. And so you hire him? And then what Chief Gregory says is, well, did he act inappropriately? Yes. Should he pay for it for the rest of his life? Probably not. But here's my question, Chief. Should black people pay for his mistake for the rest of their lives? Should brown people pay for it? You are the chief of police, sir, of a community that has a very large people of color population, a large black and brown population. The percentage, the per capita folks of color in your town is greater than that of the city of Madison, I'm sure, and certainly higher than that of Wisconsin in its entirety. And so I get that you want to look out for your boy. I get that what did he pull down? $120,000 as a severance package, because what I read on the news is that it was cheaper to buy him out than to fire him. So then he wasn't fired, so then he keeps his retirement. Then the next month, the very chief of chiefs who makes this statement hires him. Where is the outrage? Where are the community leaders? Where are all the white advocates? Where are the folks who have read that Madison, again, is one of the best places in America to raise your family? Your what? Your white family? Where are all the people? This is how we've gotten to where we've gotten, Madison. When you keep asking Alex, Reverend G, Dr. G, how do we get the disparity? Because shit like this happens. And then we go back to farmers market and Badger games, and we go back to wearing our cheese hats, and we go back to the good life, and we forget that there's somebody sitting in the town of Madison who is afraid because a man who makes comments like he assumes that young black men going on a prom date, which is a very American thing to do, not a white American, not a black American. It's a very American thing to do. It's a part of our adolescence of coming of age. I saw the video. These men were wearing suits. They spent money to do this. They had boutonnieres on. They had patent leather shoes. Why would you think the first time you see this that they are pimp-esque? Why would you think that they're going to meet bitches? Why would you think that that's even on their radar? Why can't they just be young men who are going on a date? Why can't they just, they're not in the street shooting. They're not selling drugs. They're not shooting craps up against the curb. They're not playing loud gangster rap music. They're not throwing trash bags out the window. Their pants are not sagging around their behinds. And I'm not saying that any of those actions would justify that type of response. They were wearing tuxedos going into a restaurant on prom night. As you drive up and down East Washington and the state capitol, you see white kids doing this, sometimes in limos and stretched Ubers. But nobody's making fun and assuming that they're doing anything but having a good time, maybe getting lucky, but they were not pimp-esque young men looking for bitches. And I'm pissed. And even when Mayor Soglin wrote a note or letter condemning some of this, it was not about the hiring of First Seth. It was about the town of Madison, which is going out of business in the next few years. It is about to become dissolved into the city of Madison. And it's what I'm understanding is I won't get into all the details because I don't want people to negate my rant by having some details not be completely right. But in the next few years, the town of Madison will cease to exist. It will be absorbed into the town of Madison. So the mayor's rant, mayor of the city of Madison, his rant was, you shouldn't be hiring people knowing that you all are about to go out of business. But I did not read where he condoned the act of hiring this police officer. I sent a text message to our police chief, Mike Koval. We're friends. We have each other's cell phones. We text each other on key and critical issues in our city. We've got it like that. I've yet to hear back from him. And I know he's busy, and I'm not going to even lie and say I'm not trying to call him up, because I am, because he's a part of that council. I just said, Chief, how do the rest of the members on that council feel about this? I need to know, because Chief Koval and I plan a kids versus cops basketball tournament every year. My nonprofit does this through our work of Nehemiah and Justified Anger. We've been working with one of the coaches at Madison West High School, and for 3 years we've brought black boys and girls together to play against police officers. The kids are leading the cops in this series. It's 3-0. But it's fun. They laugh, they talk, they talk junk, and the proceeds pay for a bus tour of black students to go visit colleges. And on some cases, half of those colleges are HBCUs, or historically black colleges and universities. Because we have found that those tours help black kids from Madison to actually apply to these schools, go to these colleges, and graduate from them. And so I worked really closely with Chief Koval and other officers to make this work. I'm proud of it. We raise money. We've been able to help. We've been able to raise thousands of dollars. It's a good event. But I need him to tell me, how do you feel about this? Now, I'm not saying First Seth should be, just fired and can't work, that, let them work it out. And who knows, maybe I've grown up on too much Kojak and Cagney and Lacey and Barney Miller. And maybe I'm wrong in thinking, isn't that where you give somebody a desk job? I mean, isn't that punishment? I mean, I've watched enough TV shows, Starsky and Hutch. Somebody help me. Isn't that what you do with folks who do this, who mishandle their firearms, who do something inappropriately, who gets the department suit? Don't you sit at a desk? But how do you give this man a badge, another badge from another municipality, another gun, and license to patrol our streets? I'm just, if he were a shoe salesperson, if he was a restaurateur, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. But if you're a school teacher or a police officer, and your job is to interact with public that looks like me, public that looks like my daughter, public that looks like my nephew, you should be held to a higher standard. Once you do certain kinds of things, work in the department, but do internal affairs, internal investigations. You've been shown that you do not manage your team very well. You're allowing your folks to put inappropriate things up on the internet. You're sitting at Steak and Shake making fun of folks. And your reward, your punishment is that you get $100,000. You keep your retirement. You move to another community so that you can pay into that retirement. So what have you lost? That you're not a chief and now you're a patrol person? But you got $100,000 in your bank account and you got another shot. Where do I as a black man get to have that level of misconduct and then I get to be rehired? Where do I get a chance to say something that's inappropriate and then I get to be hired by another nonprofit? Where can a black banker get in trouble at Bank A then get hired at Bank B? Where in my community can you get in trouble? I remember, there was a black officer who got in trouble for some drug related issues back in the 80s. He just seemed to disappear. Did he show up at another municipality? Did he work for Monona? Did he work for Stoughton? Did he work for the university, for the Capitol Police? This man has a gun. So again, work with me. We have seen, we have read, we have experienced black men unarmed being gunned down by police officers because of fear. Does that fear begin with bias? Does that fear begin with these perceptions and stereotypes? Where do they begin? Because this man clearly has them. And why do we think he won't move ahead with it? So here's where I need my white listeners. Here's where I need my white folks who are listening to Black Like Me. And I need white folks in my Madison community. This is where I need you to act. This is where I need you to do more than just do hashtags and retweet. This is where I need you to do more than pin up magazine covers showing that Madison is so great. This is where I need you to do more than just saying, but Alex, haven't we gotten better? What about Tiger? What about Oprah? What about LeBron? What about all these other folks? What about, Black Panther, Wakanda? What about all of this kind of stuff? When a police officer shoots an unarmed black man, we say he wasn't racist, he was scared. And then when a white police officer also shows that he has explicit bias about black people, we say he's not racist. Who the hell is racist then? You shoot black people and you're not racist, you were scared. You make fun of black people, showing your racist tendencies, and you're not racist, nor are you scared. And so what recourse do I have? How do I look into the beautiful brown eyes of young black people who ask me, are we getting better? And I watch something like this happen. And I'm sorry, Chief Gregory, you can't buy this Negro off with the lunch with you and Dan Furseth. Now, I'll show up with the head of Urban League and NAACP and other black leaders and the heads of sororities and fraternities. And in fact, I think I might even call that meeting. But you are not going to invite me in with a letter from a resident who told you that they had concerns, and then they sat down and had a nice meal with Officer Furseth, and they feel much better about the hire. I am not that brother. Because if you think that you can buy me off with the meal, you are sadly mistaken. I am tired of people like you. I am tired of hires like this. I am tired of the silence around this. The reason lynching continued is because nobody told and nobody was arrested. The reason slavery continued because no one contested until the Civil War erupted. But it lasted for all the years that it did until black people freed themselves. They rose up themselves, fought for the Union Army to free themselves. The reason Jim Crow continued and separate but equal continued because people felt it was okay. We're supposed to be separate. I am tired of the silence. This harms our community. And if white people think that this is just a black people problem, then your heads are so far up your butts that no wonder you can't help me because you can't help yourself. But here's the thing I want you to know, white people. Do not call me when the next Charlottesville happens. Do not call me when Trump is reelected and lament and rub your hands together and say, I didn't know we were this bad. I didn't know that it was this ugly. Call Chief Gregory, right? Chief Gregory, when egregious acts take place in your community, do something, say something. Don't just pull out your camera, record it, say and do something, because this man is on the street. He is on the loose. Let me do that. Let me do something like that where I put up a rant about how I feel about women and then see if, or an officer, let's just put it this way. Let me take myself out the picture. Let's just say someone does this about some sexist thoughts about women and what they want to do. Made some of the comments that our president made about what women really like. And then see if that officer gets to patrol sororities. If he gets to patrol an all-female dorm or part of the campus. People be up in arms. This man made very sexist and chauvinistic comments. He is not going to be policing and patrolling our women because we know how he's looking at them. We know what he's thinking. We don't feel safe. But we're thinking, no. Here's what I want to know, white America. Who the hell is racist? Who is racist? Who is racist? And don't tell me Donald Trump, because he's a capitalist and he's saying what America's been saying for 400 years. So do not even put that up on him. As much as I have issues with things that he's doing, I must defend Donald Trump on this. He is not the quintessential poster boy of racism in this country. He follows in the long line a great rich legacy from presidents on. And so he has been saying what Wall Street's been saying and what Hollywood has been saying and what corporate America has been saying and what educational institutions have been saying forever. He has just got the balls to say what y'all want to hear, or maybe not y'all, but your aunts and your grandmothers and your sisters and your nieces, because they're the ones who voted him in. And so let me tell you, we're only a small percentage of this state. But if white people start rising up when this level of injustice happens, things will start to change. And so this is not just about Madison, because this is just a snapshot, a microcosm of what is happening in America. We've lost our grit. We talk about liberty. We talk about access. We talk about forward in Wisconsin, all the while taking steps backwards again and again and again. I don't have amnesia. I'm not going to forget this. You're not going to take me out for lunch so that I can forget this. And if the rest of the community goes back to playing nice because we don't want these kinds of things to get out, I'm sorry. I was told a few years ago after Tony Robinson was shot, he was a young unarmed black man who was tripping on some type of drugs, who was shot on Williamson Street. When I made noise about it and national news outlets contacted me and other leaders, I was told by a prominent business leader, this is not your role, Alex, to talk about Madison on a national platform. That is our, and I won't even say how our, that I'll leave that for another show. But they said this is our responsibility because right now our slate is clean and we need to talk. You don't need to be talking to national news outlets, even though they're contacting you about the state of Madison, Wisconsin. We had a citywide meeting behind this. If a bomb had dropped on that meeting, we would have lost 2/3 of our civic leaders in Madison. Police departments, the biggest philanthropic organizations, black ministers, Urban League, NAACP, school district, university, you name the entities, we were there. And the meeting was about messaging. It was not about how we got here. It was not about the race to equity. It was not about my justified anger letter, which you can find by just going to alexg.com. It was not about any of that. It was how do we message Madison to national media outlets who's reaching out to some of our community people about their thoughts on current events. And so I understand this, but is the issue exposing the black guy or that we've been given a black eye? What's really the issue, America, that we're talking about it? Why am I called divisive if I talk about it, but Chief Gregory is called understanding if he hires someone? Hire first, Seth. You're the chief. Do it. But put him behind a desk, not behind a steering wheel, not with a gun, not driving around our neighborhoods where my parishioners go and where my parishioners live and where my relatives live. No, sir. That is not right. That is not fair. Why didn't y'all put him in some lily white or some lily white community like where he came from? Why not put him out in Cottage Grove? Why not put him out in Monona? Why not put him out in Mazomania? Why not put him out in Belleville? Why y'all gonna put him in a town of Madison? Why do we keep having folks who have been proven to have biases against our folks? And why put him in the black community? Why put these folks in our community? Why put Officer Kennedy in our community? I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve to work anywhere. That's not my call. But why put him in some of the highest concentration of black folks? Why keep pushing this and cramming this down our throat? I think y'all trying to send a message. I think you're trying to tell us to shut the hell up. I think you're trying to tell us you can do whatever you want to do. I think you can tell us that you will do it and we will forget. You know why? Because you have done it and we forget. I'm tired of forgetting. I'm wrapping a freaking string around my finger. I'm not going to forget that you condone this man's actions. You said, Chief Gregory, that it was not to be tolerated, and you ate crow and you turned around and out of that same mouth swore that man in, hired him into the town of Madison to keep the streets safe. From who and by who? And so I'm tired. This stuff makes you weary. We can get more traction if we just stop having to redo and fix crazy stuff like this. Shame on you, Chief Gregory. Shame on you, DeForest Board, who didn't find enough reason to fire this man on racial insensitivity. You found other reasons for him to step down, but it was not about race. Thank you for your due diligence, for the work that you do on behalf of your community. But don't y'all ask me why I don't think we moved ahead. Don't you ask me, don't I think things get better? Don't ask me as a person of faith, don't I believe in second chances? This man actually made more money because of the video than before he got it. He's making money off of videos like the Kardashians. And this is just ridiculous. And I'm not being divisive. I'm just telling the truth. And you just got to deal with it, because I'm tired of these kinds of actions and I will not be complicit. I will not rubber stamp. I will not validate. I will not endorse. You are not going to print my name in a letter and say, Reverend Dr. Alex G. endorses. I do not. This is a travesty. It is a tragedy. It is ugly. And I am embarrassed to be a part of a community that would let this happen and stay silent about it. And so I'm just opening up some room for us just to vent and to talk about these things. These are things that cause black people microaggressions and stress. This is what I've got to wrestle with, besides doing my job and raising money and encouraging people and building inroads and bridges between businesses and nonprofit and ethnic groups and denominations. In addition to this, I got to now begin to think, what happens as I drive through the town of Madison? What do I say to my parishioners? What do I say to my parishioners who live in the town of Madison? How do I tell young people that I have hope? We're trying to hire people who do not have racial biases. We're hiring people as trainees who are coming in as new officers who are going through training so that they do not harbor biases. And then you hire someone who obviously has them. When did he change? Was there an exorcism? Was there a prayer meeting that I missed? Did he have a deliverance service? Did we anoint him with oil? Did we cast the devil out? Where did this man have a change of heart? And let me just ask you this, Chief Gregory, and anyone else to whom this applies. If you cared about what black people thought, why did you not call me before this happened? Why do you want to take me out for lunch now? Why didn't you call black people together? My office is only 6 blocks from yours. You can walk to my office in 10 minutes. Why did you all not reach out to the black community? Is it only because we found out? Is it only because we're raising our voices? Are you now concerned about this? If this man had gotten better, if this man had become de-racist, wouldn't you have told us? Wouldn't he have gone around to NAACP and Urban League and the black, the African American Council of Churches and the black-led organizations? Wouldn't you have paraded him around like a good recovered white racist? Wouldn't you have allowed him to apologize and say, this is what I've learned? And so now with a meal, you want me to tap dance and smile and say, yes, sir? America painted pictures of slaves being happy, but they weren't. You made jugs and coffee mugs and salt shakers with black people with big red lips smiling. We were not happy in slavery. We were not happy in deconstruction. We were not happy in Jim Crow. We were not happy in separate but equal with society. We were happy among ourselves. I am not happy with this situation. You have to find somebody else to condone and corroborate this level of sickness, because I am not going to tell you it's okay. I'm not going to tell you that it's fine with me. You have done irreparable harm in the relationship between law enforcement and people of color, in my opinion, in this community. And now you live with that. You are wondering if First Seth has to pay for what he did for the rest of his career. You made that decision. But you, sir, Chief, must live with irreparable harm that you have done with this leader, with a big mouth, with a podcast, with a pulpit and a pen. You have done irreparable harm in terms of the trust that could and should have been built between our communities. And now the ball's in your court, and the ball is in America's court. I'm tired of begging for justice. I'm tired of asking people to be nice, and I'm tired of asking people to stop shooting my people and hiring people who have the potential to shoot my people. I'm tired of asking for that. America, the ball is in your court. Madison, Dane County, Town of Madison, mayor, county executive, governor, future mayor, future governor. The ball's in your court. We have a mess here in Wisconsin, and it is not the black community or the Latino community or the Asian American community or the Native American community to fix this. White folks, white leaders, white business leaders, those of you who are making the decision, the ball is in your court. And who we continue to become is in your hands. So it's your move. What are you going to do? What are you going to say? Stop asking me what I'm doing to make America better and relations better. White Madison, white Town of Madison, white Dane County, white Wisconsin, white America. What are you going to do to make this better? Because we didn't get us here. So what are you going to do to move us from here? Thank you, as always, for listening and being a part of Black Like Me. I enjoy keeping things real, and I enjoy telling you highlights of what's going on. But when I'm deeply frustrated and troubled, I bring that to you all as well. So continue to subscribe, continue to tell your friends about what we're doing, continue to share, because we, in the past few months with just our first season, we have gotten 10,000 unique downloads, and we want to triple that in the next 6 months. So help us by being a part of the Black Like Me podcast family. Get the word out, because you and I know people who need this message.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. You can find out more about Dr. Alex G's amazing work at www.alexg.com. Black Like Me is sponsored by the generosity of the Human Family Unity Foundation.